Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. Got to figure out what's going on with my there we go. All right, we got it going. Hey, we're going to get started. I'm excited to see some of you showing up early and on time. I really appreciate it when you do that. Before we get started, I wanted to just share a tip for success for those of you getting here early. I'm going to talk about capability statements today, obviously. But one of the things that's really important is where's that capability statement, right? Today, I'm going to talk about the mistakes inside of it, but make sure you're sharing your capability statement out there somewhere where buyers can find it, right? So one of the first things I consider doing is making sure it's on my website in an ungated way. That means when somebody hits your homepage, there's somewhere really, really obvious that they can get your capability statement. They shouldn't have to scroll or search. Second place is on LinkedIn. Put it in your LinkedIn profile. Encourage anybody in your company to put it on their profile. And then the third place, and I'll talk about this more, is make sure you're also putting this in your in DSBS. And you can go watch a whole training I did on it yesterday. I think I put it out there, not a training video, but training steps on what you need to do. So that's just a quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. I appreciate that you do. Let me turn some of my captions off. I appreciate that you do show up early and on time, because when you do and you put your company name, your core competency into the chat, then LinkedIn lets the rest of LinkedIn know, hey, Neil's training is going on and there's people over there who are engaged. And so if you're here to also network in addition to get the training, then you being engaged and you being here early is pulling those other people in. And if each of us are doing this, I'm bringing my network, you're bringing your network, somebody else is bringing their network, and we start building our network together. Okay, let's get rocking and rolling with today's training. One of the things that I get asked a lot about capability statements, there's a lot of questions that people ask, right? How many pages should it be? What should it look like? But one of the biggest things is, what's a capability statement for? And I teach that a capability statement has one purpose. Its purpose is to get you a meeting, or to get you rejected from a meeting, right? And what that means is, if you show somebody a capability statement, they go, oh yeah, I'd like to learn more. Come on, let's meet. Or you show them a capability statement, they go, oh, you're in IT, I'm in construction, I don't need to meet. The third option is maybe they go, oh, you're in IT, I'm in construction, but you know what, Sally does IT, let me pass that along. A capability statement's purpose is to get that meeting or get the yes or no for that meeting. Nothing else is what that capability statement is supposed to be doing. And so as we go forward into today's training, that's what I'm going to be diving down on, is making sure your capability statement is set up in a way that's going to help you achieve the success that you're looking for. I'm going to break up today's training into a whole bunch of sections. I'm going to move really fast. If you haven't been here before, I move at a fire hose pace, but I've got a lot of specific tips I'm going to try to get to today. And so it is a lot of information. Don't worry, go back and look at it, and hopefully I'll make it really clear. But I'm going to break it up into four main areas, which on this slide, I kind of reversed them actually when I went forward. But I'm going to start with mistakes in the header of your capability statement. Then I'm going to talk about mistakes in the main body of your capability statement. I'm going to move on to the footer and talk about mistakes that we do down there. And I want to wrap up with the top mistakes. And the reason I'm wrapping up with the top mistakes instead of starting is because it kind of encompasses all of the other areas. So if that's what you're looking for, and you're looking for a capability statement that's going to help you start landing more meetings and be able to enable you to have great success in 2025, let's go ahead and just put 2025 rocks into the chat. Let me know you're along for the ride for today and you've got enthusiasm, same as I do. Let me know you're sitting right in the front row if we were at an in-person event. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce and CEO and co-founder of GovCon in a Box. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a government contractor after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for our Government Contracting Success newsletter. I'm actually going to take the tips I'm sharing today, and I'll write a newsletter as kind of a checklist for you. So Yes, you can write it down, but also know I'm going to be trying to get that out in the next day or two. And I'll put that into this newsletter. But this newsletter is the largest government contracting newsletter out there because we keep providing such valuable information to you and your government contracting business. So go ahead and subscribe. If you already subscribe, do me a favor, let somebody else know. It's like, hey, you got to check out Neil's newsletter and maybe subscribe. The last thing on this page is I just want to let you know about our next training that's out there for tomorrow. I've got a lot of different days of training over the next 15 days, 10, 15 days. But tomorrow, and I forgot to update this, but tomorrow is about landing more meetings with federal buyers. So I talked the other day about why you're not getting second meetings. And tomorrow I'm going to be diving into, well, how do you get more meetings in general? So think about this as, how do I get more first meetings? And before we move on to the actual training, I just want to thank or congratulate all the people who are in the 100 Club. The 100 Club is a score out of 1 to 100 of your federal visibility score. How visible are you to federal buyers on their tools? And so I have a tool on place in GovCon in a Box. Just go to govconinabox.com. When you go there, put your UEI or your company name, and you will see your company profile. And this is us pulling in the data that shows what your company looks like to the federal buyers. And I give it a score. Many people are below 50, and that's just unacceptable, right? You're invisible to the buyer if you're below 70, is what I say. So get in there, see what your score is. Come on and join us in the 100 Club. All right, let's get rocking and rolling here. So I'm going to follow this pattern as we go forward. I'm going to try to hit a slide per mistake. I'm going to be watching my time. I got 23 minutes and a whole bunch of mistakes that we're going to be talking about. So one main mistake that small businesses make on their capability statement is burying the lead. And what I mean by this is I'll look at your capability statement, and let's say you're an 8A certified small business. And that logo I'll see at the bottom. You need to bring that logo to the top. 8A certification, HubZone certification, woman-owned small business, or service disabled veteran-owned. Those are the four main programs, right? The Small Business Administration or SBA programs. Put that in the header. Don't bury it down below on your capability statement. There's a line out there that says don't lead with your tags, but there's nothing that says you can't put it right there in the header. So your capability statement is screaming, hey, we're a woman-owned small business, but you are not, right? And you want to make sure you're not burying that lead. And then the other one is your GSA schedule. GSA is most commonly the first contract vehicle people get. And if you get your GSA schedule, put that logo up in the top on your header along with your SBA logo. That way, when somebody looks at the header, they're like, oh, I can see right away this company is registered in SAM. They're if they're an 8A, that means they've jumped through hoops. If they're a woman-owned small business, they jump through a lot of hoops. And if I see a GSA thing, I'm like, well, okay, you've been vetted by my peers in the government. And so it's subliminally communicating you're squared away in less than a second to the person who looks at your capability statement. Another mistake that small businesses make on their capability statement is they're not encouraging exploration for people to sit there and want to go further into learning more about your company. An easy way that you can encourage people to learn more about your company, one is on your header of your capability statement, you have your company logo on the top left is where I like to put it. Right there on that logo, link it to your website. So if I have a PDF of your capability statement, I can click on it and go learn more. In the middle, I encourage you to put your cage code in your UEI. We'll hyperlink those two. And if you have a woman-owned small business certification from SBA, put that logo and those two numbers, hyperlink them to your DSBS profile. That way, if Ann wants to go learn more about your company, now she's going to the government's source of information about who you are and validating that you're registered, you're small, etc. And the last one is if you have a GSA schedule or any other type of contract vehicle, but most importantly, GSA is the common one you'd have in that top right, hyperlink that to your GSA Advantage schedule. Right? Don't make people have to figure out how to find you. Make it really easy for them to find you and explore your company more. So another mistake that we make on capability statements in the government contracting world is we try to put way too many words onto our capability statement. And I have one simple rule that will fight that, right? I don't have to tell you how to change the words, what words to put there. My rule is use 14-point font. in the body of your capability statement, use 14-point font, nothing smaller. It's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but I literally write proposals to the government where I don't go below 14-point font. It's a strategy I have. And my strategy is, let me make it easy on the other person to read. And so when you use 14-point font, you're kind of automatically having to be concise in there, but you're also making it easier on the other person to read. By the way, as you hear me share tips, if they make sense, put something in the chat that just is kind of like a tweetable moment, if you will, like 14-point font. All right, so let's talk about some mistakes, other mistakes in the body that capability statements have for small businesses. And the first big one is there's no clear, focused offer. On your capability statement, I should be able to look, and within 2 seconds, 3 seconds at most, I should figure out what you sell, your clear, focused offer, your core competency, right? I should be able to know what that is. And so I want you to sit there and look at your capability statement and niche it down. The way that you niche down your core competency is what you sell, is you start off with one big main core competency. My last company, my core competency was Microsoft SharePoint. I did all sorts of related stuff, but it was Microsoft SharePoint. That was our core competency. And then you use 3 sub-core competencies. For me, it was migration, administration, and development, software development, right? And those 3 words, I could sit there and say, hey, we're a Microsoft SharePoint firm focused on migration, administration, and development. And that makes it easy to talk about. You can use other bullets in there, but people remember the 3s. And so niche your core competency and what you sell down so that it's very easy to see what your clear focused offer is. So another one here that I track on that I really want people to fix as it relates to mistakes you make in your capability statement is your past performance is confusing. What you really need to do is to make it easy for people to see where you've been paid for the work that you're saying you're doing. So if your core competency is what I sell, your past performance is here's who's paid me for it. And so I want to quickly figure that out when I get to that section, past performance. What I recommend you do is get rid of the logos. First off, technically, we're not even allowed to use the logos, but more importantly, the logos force me to spend time going, who is that? What's there? Use words. Words are easier. So an example is DOJ, USDA, Army. These shorter words are easy to see, and you can put more of them there. And so the first section I do in my past performance box on the capability statement, these are the customers that have paid me. It can be commercial, state and local, federal, obviously. And so I put those there because the first thing I want them to see is, wow, name drop, name drop, name drop. You know, the Army has paid them, DHS has paid them, Department of Education has paid them. Okay, I got it. Solid people have paid them. What have you done? And then the second section is just a couple of bullets. And remember, 14-point font that is highlighting what I got paid to do. And that should really align directly to my core competency. If I say my core competency is Microsoft SharePoint, down here it should say Microsoft 2010 migration to SharePoint Online, something like that. Just several bullets, and people go, wow, he says he does this. These people paid him. That's what he got paid to do. You want to make sure yours is saying something similar to that. Okay, so the next mistake that I find that small businesses make on their capability statement, in the body in particular, is they're not putting a true differentiator. We're often told by advisors that you need to have a differentiator, and I always love that because what's really the differentiation between IT company number 1 and IT company number 9,995, right? We all kind of seem like we're out there, but you can have a differentiator. You just need to understand the difference between a true differentiator and some things that we just put in there. So an example is having certifications like ISO. That's really not a differentiator. If you have nothing else, you can begin to put those in, but those aren't what you want. What you want are a true differentiator that says, for example, my last company, we did Microsoft SharePoint. We went toe-to-toe with Microsoft as a small business because our differentiator was we have had 3 migrations of federal agencies over 100,000 users. That just doesn't happen. We were in a very unique position because all we did was Microsoft SharePoint over and over again, and we got bigger and bigger projects. So that was a clean differentiator. We had solid experience. And for me now, as I go forward, I'm going to start a new company. I think I might have told some of you about it. I'm going to start a company called Nancy Co. with my wife, Nancy. And we're going to start it just so I can show you that I'm not just teaching what I did a long time ago. I'm going to do it again in 2025, is take that company, build it, take it to 100,000 and then to $1 million in revenue, to show you the step-by-step behind the scenes, what works, what doesn't. And it's for that company, a differentiator that we have, I put here, is we have the largest GovCon newsletter growing faster than DOD's. And what I'll be trying to sell probably in that area is social media communication and outreach to industry. Well, what makes you different than somebody else? Well, we've got the largest newsletter. We've got on average 4 and 5 million views for our content every year. These are differentiators. What are yours? You need to solidly understand your core competency, maybe even talk to your customer about, hey, what do you like about us compared to everybody else? What would they say is your differentiator? Okay, so really quick, I want to give you some announcements. It gives me a chance to take a glass of water. I do these trainings every single day, and every single business day and the days I go sailing. But I put this event calendar up there for you to be able to use. You can add our calendar, our training calendar, to your Outlook or Gmail or whatever it is you use. You can add our calendar so our events are always on your calendar. And when I schedule them, I update them so that you have the detail, you can click and register, et cetera. So make sure you go register for that. Let me know if you don't have the link yet, and I'll send that to you. The second thing is next Monday on December 9th, we're doing a virtual networking event. I think we have well over 100 people already registered to attend, but this is a virtual networking event where you can come together and meet 20, 30 other people. There'll be a lot of people on there, but we send you into private rooms so you can network with each other. This has been really good for people. I hear back every single time about how I met this person, we're working together on something. And that's exactly what we look for from networking, is this ability to find peers in the GovCon space. Okay, another mistake that small businesses make on their capability statement is putting too many NAICS on your capability statement. You only need 6, and that's just a round number I'm using. You can have a ton of NAICS codes in SAM, right? And you want to have at least 10 in there, and really want to align to every NAICS code that's being used by the government. But on your capability statement, no one's going to care about the 7th one. The first 6 should be able to align to your core competency, right? If you do sign language interpretation, then you want to have 541930, I think it is. You just want to have that on there. By the way, you don't need the description. I hear people sometimes talk about, oh, have that description on there. Literally, I've talked to like a government person who says, oh, I want to see that name on there. Well, that's not a good idea, right? And that's their opinion. What I share is not my opinion. It's based on hundreds, if not thousands, of discussions and interviews with contracting officers, small business specialists, et cetera, who are receiving this. They're like, no, I mean, even the NAICS is not that important, because the reality is I need to know what you sell, and that's in your core competency. But when you put NAICS codes on there, just use 6, and that's more than enough. Don't bother putting descriptions. By the way, the NAICS codes belong in the footer. That's why we're on that section now. Okay, so this is a huge one. People buy from people, right? And I don't buy from sales@yourcompany.com. I don't buy from info@yourcompany.com. What we look for is a person's name, John@yourcompany.com. In the government, this is kind of a subliminal thing to the federal buyers and market researchers. I feel like if I see your email address is a generic one, info@yourcompany.com, then if I send an email in there, it's just going to go into a black hole and I'm never going to hear back. So instead, you want to sit there and encourage them to reach out to you. Contact me. There's a sales strategy where you can sit there and say, here's my personal cell phone. Call me anytime if you need me, right? And people are always worried about, what if I get spammed? Well, you get spammed anyways, but you're not going to get any more spammed. But now you've just given your customer direct access to you. When you give them your name on a capability statement, you're giving them direct access to a person who's going to take the responsibility to respond in a timely way. So make sure you put your name or somebody's name who's responsible for responding to the government. I can't believe how fast I went through these slides. They're going pretty fast. Okay, so I want to dive into some top mistakes that we make on capability statements. And the first one, the biggest one is it's too hard to read. We get a capability statement, it might be multiple pages, even front and back is too many. It just needs to be one page. The reason is because the purpose of the capability statement is to land a meeting. It is not to inform. And so I don't need a ton of content. I don't need a front and a back. And so you want to use something called a Z format. The header is the top of the Z. People read sentences and paragraphs in a book, Z format. That's how we read, left to right, left to right, left to right. And so you want to do the same thing on your capability statement. You come across with a header. You know, I'm looking at your logo, capability statement, cage code, UEI, and then I'm looking at SBA logos, GSA logos. That's your header. In a second, I can understand what you do or that you're validated. And then I start coming down and I see the body, right? And I see the core competencies, and I come down and I see past performance, what you sell and who you sold it to. So that Z is guiding me down. And then the last part of the Z is your differentiator. This is what we sell. This is who we've sold it to. And this is what makes us different from our competitors. And so you look at the things I put here, that's a really important framework to follow. And at the very bottom of the Z is your point of contact information and all this other stuff that is not important until they decide they want to talk to you. One mistake we make on capability statements is we put in information we think is important, but it's not really important. Remember, a capability statement's job is to get a meeting. Are you going to get a meeting if somebody looks at that logo that says you won best company to work at in 2022 or something? No, it doesn't actually tell them anything except for you entered for that award kind of thing. And I know I'm kind of knocking it, but my point is you winning an award back in 2015 or 2020 for best company in your county or something, that's not going to matter to the Army when they're trying to solve the mission that they have, when they have their own challenges and their goals. What they want to know is, what do you do and how can that help them? And have you been paid to do it before, right? And so you want to make sure of that. Information that is helpful is your ISO, CMMI, logos that are related to the work. CMMC is out now, right? You should be going after that CMMC certification, right? Certified or cybersecurity maturity model certification. Those are helpful logos to put on. Look at your capability statement, take off everything that really doesn't help the customer decide to meet with you. Help the customer understand what you sell and how that can help them. This is one of my favorite ones. So I've been doing this since 2018, talking to small business professionals, contracting officers in particular, going, what do you like on the capability statement? What are you looking for? This is why I narrow it down to just the basics, because of this thing. And literally, it was, fortunately for me, it was a woman, small business owner was saying that. She's like, look at me. I don't need it to be pink to know that you're a woman-owned small business. I don't need a big American flag to know that you're a veteran-owned small business or you're patriotic. I need to know what you sell and how it's going to help us and whether you've been paid for it, right? That's what I need to see on your capability statement. And so you want to get rid of all of this flair, even something like a big picture. Sometimes we put pictures on our capability statement and we think it's going to actually tell a story, but is it really, right? If you put a picture of tractors on a showroom floor, are you supporting the showroom activity? Are you building tractors and selling them? Are you doing the floors? Are you doing, just all product sales? A picture generally doesn't tell a lot. And so you can leave those off. I know that might be a little bit controversial, but unless it truly tells a very clear story, then don't put it on there. It's better to just put words focusing on your core competency, focusing on your value proposition, which all that means is how can what you sell them help them with their mission? That's the value proposition that you need at this level. Okay, so one of my favorite tips for you, and I got this because I've been an IT guy for 20, 30 years, right? And one of my jobs over my last contracting business, I was in charge of IT search for the White House, for the Air Force, and for DHS. And so in their enterprise level search, I really became an expert at it. And there's a couple of things I want you to pay attention to make your capability statement findable when people are searching for a company like yours. First off, make sure your PDF, your capability statement, is actually a good searchable document. It has words. I've seen people actually take a screenshot of like a JPEG or something, put that into a PDF. The problem is it's not searchable, so none of the words are findable. The next thing is, if you're doing it correctly and you've got a PDF that's searchable, make sure all of your top keywords are woven into the narratives. There's an about section on your capability statement. There's your core competencies. There's how you've been paid. Make sure, for example, for me in my last company, I would put SharePoint in the past performance section somewhere. I would put it in the core competency. I would put it in the differentiator. I'm being found through my very top keywords. The next thing is for visibility and findability, make sure you use metadata. Metadata is just the properties of a file. So if you have a PDF, the name of the file, like Neil's capability statement .pdf, that is one piece of metadata, right? It's data that's defining the file, but it's just properties. Then you have a title and you have comments and subject area, you have keywords. So go into your document, go to the file menu, and in the file menu, you look for information or info or properties. And when you go there, you will see these fields that you can fill in. And the reason this is vital is anytime somebody searches for your capability statement, especially inside the government on an enterprise hard drive or whatever, when they search for cybersecurity and the word is in the metadata, your document comes up higher than the person who's only got cybersecurity on their document itself. So make sure you're making it easy for them to find you. Okay, we got through. That was good. And here's what I want you to remember from the training. First off, I'm going to summarize these tips. So if you didn't get them all, you can watch the replay or make sure you're following my newsletter. Hit the bell on my LinkedIn profile so you hear about when I post the checklist of what to go do on your capability statement to fix these mistakes. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. Despite giving you a lot of tips, just fix the easiest ones first. An example of something easy is make sure your company logo on your capability statement is hyperlinked. Those are examples of easy things. Then really look at your core competency, that section that says, what do we sell? Make sure you don't sell everything. Niche it down and really focus on one thing, one offer. And then the last thing is when you've got your capability statement ready for 2025, go share it out on LinkedIn. Put it in your company section on your experience. You can add that file to your LinkedIn profile. You can also post it. And when you post it, if you followed the guidance I gave you, tag me in the post. Say, hey, thanks, Neil, for the tips. And I will come in and engage it. I have 35,000 followers on LinkedIn. When I engage with something, my network will become aware of your company. So go ahead and track on those. Remember, tomorrow's training is how to land more meetings. And so if you're trying to get more meetings with federal buyers, definitely register for tomorrow's training. There might be a link in the chat, but you can find it on my LinkedIn profile. The last thing I just want to say is we help our customers with business development or a BD accelerator workshop. I'd love to have you in there if you're doing, let's say, 2 million plus, right? I generally say 2 million plus because there is a price tag for this. I do all this free training, but if you're looking for us to help you, I am signing people up for the last time on our workshop later in December. This is for all of 2025. It'll be the last time we're offering the workshop as we transition out of that type of work and move into something different, still totally supporting GovCon, but just not me. And so if you're interested in that, put workshop into the chat. I'd love to send you some information and we could talk about it. For all of us, just remember, government contracting and your capability statement, these are not secrets. They're just processes. And I will see you in the next training. Don't forget to sign up for the networking event tomorrow. Sign up for the networking event on 12/9. I'll see you.